So last week I was visiting my mother in New Jersey, and two times I got to go into New York City and visit my favorite stomping grounds, Greenwich Village, in particular Washington Square Park. This is where I lived when I was between 18 and 24, and it was the area where I learned about diversity and about expressing your peacock colors. It was where I felt safe to try new things because it just seemed like everyone was expressing their individuality, not concerned all that much with what other people thought of them. So it was a perfect place for me to begin my journey into the heart of my creativity and the heart of my heart. And I was there last week and I was blown away, filled with hope about my daughter's future, 15 years old. And Course in Miracles says there is no world. It says don't worry about a thing. Stevie Wonder said the same thing. So did Bob Marley and that one other guy, Bobby McFerrin. There was like the three holy songs about not worrying. Don't worry about a thing, Bob Marley. And Stevie Wonder, don't you worry about a thing. And then finally there was Bobby McFerrin, which is, here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy. And as far as I know, those words first came out of the mouth of an Indian avatar named Meher Baba, Meher and Baba. Kind of like the mayor of spirituality. Hi, I'm Meher Baba. Thank you for voting me in as a saint. So last week I learned not to worry about the future of the world, the future of the human species, and my daughter's future. And it happened while walking around Greenwich Village. So it was in the evening, on a Wednesday evening. The first person I made a connection with was about 21 years old. She was working as the hostess in a bar, a restaurant bar, and I just noticed her aura, her presence was so radiant that I asked for a few moments of her time to just ask her some questions about herself. And I'm happy to say that we've been in communication. She recently just sent me her term paper, and this was the most interesting thing. The first thing I learned about her was she said, I'm writing my term paper, and it's on the healing power of being in the present moment. And I said, oh, you must have studied that book by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And she said, no, I've never heard of it. And I started to drop into awe and mystery and excitement. Like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of a younger generation who actually never read the book, who doesn't understand the concepts, who is experiencing it from the inside out. She's the next generation. She doesn't have to understand intellectually this power of now thing. So I told her about the book. She wrote it down. She said, oh, thank you so much. And so we talked about presence, and she just seemed to know her purpose at such a young age. And she talked about her job as a hostess being training ground for practicing presence. She talked about things that took me years of therapy and meditation to understand. And I started to feel this excitement. It was started being generated by having 15 minutes with this lovely lady. And then I made my way in a state of kind of awe and reverence. I made my way into Washington Square Park. And the first thing I did was say hello to the policeman that I saw. The policeman who, when I was age 18, almost arrested me for buying drugs and LSD in the park. Not the same policeman, but I was just curious, like how are these two gentlemen experiencing being police officers in Washington Square Park? They caught my attention because they said, oh, it's the most fun, it's the best job a policeman can have in New York City, and we love it here. And we really just protect and serve and help people feel safe so they can celebrate. So I was taking that in, like, whoa. And then that was the edge of the park, and I started walking, going like, what's changed? A lot has changed since I was a young man. So I walk into the square, so to speak. The first thing I noticed was and you could see this on my Facebook page, a few posts down, a bunch of hula hoops and jugglers all doing this different thing with their art and their bodies that all had something in common. They were all using fluorescent glow in the dark hula hoops and juggling balls and all kinds of things. And everyone was having such a good time, and they were really good. They were practicing their craft. And what I remember from Washington Square Park is that people who gave of their talents were asking for money. But these people, there were about 20 of them, were all just engaged in hula hooping, and they were talking to each other. It wasn't this performance energy, and they didn't want anything back, but they were lighting up the world and lighting up the park with joy and amazing colors. So I just sat down and started talking with people about this amazing thing, and they said, "Oh yeah, it happens, very often, and every Wednesday night, and da da da." And I'm just fascinated. The next thing I see is almost right next to them was a sign that said "Free Bad Advice," and there were 6 chairs. Some of them were already occupied by people who wanted free bad advice. And I took a seat and I said, "Do you have any bad advice for me?" And the young man who created this was just using the whole free bad advice thing to invite people to sit down and connect with him and with other people about the challenges in their personal lives. And I noticed that everyone looked to be about student age. And as they sat down, not only did this man offer bad advice or good advice or wisdom, actually, but he also asked people for their life advice. And he brought out the guru in each person. And I just was so stunned and touched by what was going on amongst strangers in one of the parks that I grew up in, where when I grew up, there was a lot of darkness, a lot of I would just say darkness and violence and people getting arrested and drug dealers were, in the shadows. And then I noticed that there were people selling marijuana. Now that it's legal, it's like, displays. It's like they're selling flowers. So that I noticed all these beautiful changes. And the park is a microcosm of the world, where the world is going. And it's a pioneering place. It's like people on the fringe of consciousness hang out and do their thing in Washington Square Park. So I was sitting there giving and receiving bad advice, making up songs for each person's, thing. And it really wasn't bad advice. It was like people were channeling wisdom and supporting each other. This is what touched me the most, is that these strangers were sitting around and really getting real with each other. I couldn't tear myself away, but I had to. So I asked somebody to watch my guitar and my stuff. I needed to find a bathroom. And so they told me, "Oh, go that way." But as I'm walking towards the bathroom, guess what? There's about 100 people doing salsa dancing, blasting Cuban or Hispanic music, and I have to walk through them. So I'm pretending that I'm dancing with them, but it's really a bunch of couples, and celebration of life was so dramatically beautiful. All these dancers dancing with no money, no cost, and no reason on a Wednesday night. It's like, this is what life is meant to be. Celebrating life and whipping out talents and giving each other gifts. Woo. So I actually connected with some of these younger people one-on-one. I got out of there at 12 midnight. I thought I was going to leave by 8. And with my guitar and just a sense of casualness, I created some safety for people to come out and tell me what their lives were about. And I never experienced so much hope, joy, and awe amongst a younger generation. Never thought it could exist. I think the last thing I want to say about my time in Greenwich Village, well, there was this sense of a fifth dimension. I don't know if you folks remember it, but in the 60s, the musical Hair came out, and there was a song, Let the Sun Shine, and also The Age of Aquarius, and a group called The Fifth Dimension put both songs together from the musical, two of the most popular and my personal favorite songs, The Age of Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine. Let the sun shine, let the sun shine in, the sun shine in. And then the first part of the song was, let's see if I remember. When the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planet and love will steer the stars. This is the dawning of the age. Well, there it was, with my feet on the ground, no drugs. There it was in the 2020s. What people started visioning and dreaming of in the 60s was just a grounded, practical Wednesday night reality. And I watched it all around me, cried myself all the way back to Vicky's house, where I was staying. The Age of Aquarius, the fifth dimension, is really happening. And many of us, especially during this election cycle, are freaking out because what we're experiencing is the collapse of the third dimension. And when you tune into that, it looks bleak. You're seeing opposing forces, the forces of fear and love, and it's like it's just getting more and more separate, more and more polarity is going on. It becomes increasingly more difficult for people with open hearts to look at the newspapers and feel the hopelessness. And there is true hopelessness going on in the world when you tune in to simply the third dimension. Meanwhile, when you withdraw from all that and you start tuning in to your inner kingdom, you make a domain shift from the third to the fifth dimension, and you start to see love where it is coming into fruition. And it's like we're sharing the same planet. Those who are vibrating in the direction of fear and those that are opening up to a new world are actually, for a time, sharing the old earth, and we're both existing, and it's a wonderful experiment. How can we get along together, or not, when there's so much diversity, when heaven and hell and everything in between is coexisting? And I've been told there's going to come a time in the not too distant future where even though we're sharing the same planet, we won't even be able to see each other. We won't even be able to see, validate, and acknowledge the opposing, seemingly polarized world. We're either going to be seeing only fear and only reasons to freak out, or we're going to be seeing only love, hope, and joy and creativity. And it's like, how we share the same planet, I have no idea. But it's really happening already. I saw it in Greenwich Village, and it reminded me of a song I wrote when I was like in my early 20s, walking around Greenwich Village and looking at the diversity all around me. And at that time, diversity meant black people and Oriental people and white people and Jewish people and atheists and Christians, all sharing space together. And then, fast forward 30, 40 years, and now I'm seeing that on a racial level, there's just something so blended about so many people that it's like Indian, Latin, little black, diversity has become so awesomely rainbow colors rather than black, white, brown, Latin. It's like people have it all, especially in Greenwich Village. And it reminded me of the song I wrote and how much more true it is now than it was when I wrote the song. It was like I was having a preview of coming attractions and watching the trailer of what now exists on a Wednesday night. Ordinary life. I'm not going to play the whole song for you. You can find it on YouTube or wherever. But it's called The Rainbow Song, and it was written by my former lifetime as Scott Calixtine, my original birth name. Here it is, part of it. One day I took me a walk in Greenwich Village, New York, to catch up on the latest crazes. I found a brand new reference for sexual preference listed in the yellow pages. This is before the internet. I walked along a crowded hair salon. A line went around the block. There was a special that day on purple body waves with a little green on the top. Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the light. Would you rather see through a color TV and throw away your black and white? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the light. It's so hard to stay with your own kind these days when no two people look alike. Well, there's new races, new faces, new colors, new creeds. We're swimming in diversity. Well, you can keep company with the folks you agree with or sample the variety. I got a born-again friend who dabbles in Zen. She's Christian in a mystical way. If you don't like your religion, get a second opinion. Why stick to only one faith these days? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the light. Would you rather see through a color TV and throw away your black and white? Yes, we're becoming a rainbow. Yes, we are seeing the light. It's so hard to stay with your own kind these days when no two people look alike. When no two people think alike. When no two people are alike. Yeah. So let's all just take a breath, breathe that in. We are becoming a rainbow. And when, first of all, a lot of people watching this don't even know what a black and white TV is. So I just want to explain it, that when I grew up, we had a black and white television. There was no such thing as color. And then we traded in our black and white for a color TV when it was invented. Now, we all have color TVs. Nobody knows what black and white is. It's the same thing in consciousness. Black and white thinking, good, bad, right, wrong. It's all dust in the wind. We're becoming a rainbow. There's no one way to look, one way to think. And those of us who are into the unified field, what is it called? Oneness. What's another word? James wrote a book about it. Non-duality, a non-dual approach to life. Like there is no such thing as different colors. There's only oneness. And I say yes, but the way that oneness manifests on this planet is through many colors, through diversity. And it's a great thing. It's like God said, I want to explode myself in a million colors of a rainbow and allow my children to find unity within the kaleidoscope of individuality. So, on earth as it is in heaven, and eventually on the globe as it is in Greenwich Village. It's always been a precursor. It's always been a place where the new changes start happening a little before everyone else catches up to it. So that's, my friends, my story. Last week, Greenwich Village, lots of tissues, grief coming up and being released, hopelessness coming up and being released, replaced by an excitement that my daughter is inheriting Greenwich Village. I love you all. Let me turn this thing off and